all of the things that I've desired in life have come to fruition because I know who I am, whose I am. I am surrounded by people that are investing in me, and investing in our family. So, yes, writing it down, vision boarding, making it plain, staying consistent, and being intentional about essentially everything I do.
All right, Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to get to know you more. I know I see you a lot on LinkedIn and doing a lot of speaking engagements. I actually saw one today come up. So definitely looking forward to diving in a little bit more in your background and how you're making an impact. So before we go into your background specifically, I really want to jump, if you don't mind, to you building out an executive coaching program for one of the largest complex healthcare systems in the nation. So talk to me about what it takes to really build out a leadership program like this, and what exactly are you helping the leaders accomplish?
Yes, absolutely. First, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me. This is going to be a wonderful conversation, I can already tell. So, your question of building out that leadership and that executive coaching, I think I'll start with one, why, the why behind it, because the why is always going to be most important. The
Mhm,
why of the matter is number one, I initially didn't have quote unquote executive coaching when I was coming up through what we call the ranks, right? So I chose the executive route as a physician. A lot of physicians don't, but I chose the executive route. I knew that in order to make scalable change, that I needed to be in the rooms and sitting at the tables and be leading the tables as well. So making sure that I had the right mentors along the way, advocates and sponsors. And the why behind it became, you know what, I want the same things that I had with very few gaps
mhm,
between, and I want to make that happen for other people. So as I got more elevated in my experiences as well as my titles, then I realized and recognized I was like, oh, there is something called executive coaching. And when I met my coach, I had two coaches. When I met them, I tell you, they were a game changer for me because I was at one of the highest levels I had been in my career. And, every time you go to a higher level, it's the game that got you there is not the game that's going to keep you there.
correct. Yes.
So I needed new blood, new fresh blood, people that had been there before, people that had coached other people before, and I wanted to make sure that we had that for others. So in building that, I took from my experiences, understanding not only my why, but other people's why and what they want to accomplish. One of the things we talk about is, you know what? Every time you go into a meeting, what is the context, the purpose, and the outcome, and what's your win? That's the one
Mhm,
thing I added when I started doing coaching. What is your win? Because if
mhm,
you can tell me what your win is when we begin or have an
mm.
idea of it, then I can help you achieve that and it'll be even greater than you could ever expect.
Mhm. And just, with you speaking, it feels like you're the type of individual that may, on the surface, not necessarily need executive coaching, right? And I think a lot of times we realize that a lot of the people that we end up working with are high performers, high achievers, and those are the ones that are really looking to take what it is they're doing to the next level. So, as far as you really locating the executive coach that was perfect for you, what were you looking for? And who provided it to you? Was it the organization, or is it something that you suck out on your own?
Yeah, so to be honest, I hear that all the time. People are like, Dr. Elmore, you look so perfect. Everything is, so wonderful. And I'm like, let me tell you, baby, I've been through the struggles and the pain and everything, but I keep a positive attitude. And when you keep that positive energy, that positive attitude, and people see the fact that, you know what, you're approachable, they can work with you. And they know, yes, this is a high achiever, a high performer, and she definitely wants to get better.
Mhm,
So, in that being said, I have been writing my goals in my journal since
mhm,
I was 6 years old, right?
mhm.
And
Wow.
one of the things I am a Christian woman, right? And I know that if I continue to stay in divine alignment with my higher power and listen to what I am supposed to have in my life, those goals, those dreams, my mission, vision, values, those will all align, and the right people will come into my sphere atmosphere.
Mm.
And like I said, I am always people, people know me. They know if you ask Kelly, she's going to say yes. And
Mhm.
she's going to figure out intentionally why this yes is going to lead to something greater for her and other people.
Mhm.
So, that's really one of the big things is that, yes, somebody might look like they got it all together, but the way they probably have it all together is because they are willing to receive feedback and constantly improve and learn from others, whether the others are younger, same age, or older, because the wisdom is around you if you have that right type of sphere of influence that you're in.
Mhm. And so you said that, really writing down your goals and really allowing yourself to get into the energy to attract what it is you need and what you're looking for. Is that what brought the executive coach in your experience, or is it something that was provided to you? What was that working relationship like?
So I think over the years, I've always had mentors and I've always listened to them. So I'll be honest with you, informal executive coaching through your mentorships is
Mm.
very important.
Mhm.
But as far as yes, when I got to this next level,
Mhm.
then yes, the organization did have contracts that were made available so that we could utilize certain people to help with executive coaching. And when you start getting into the E suite, which is the executive level, the C suite, which is
Mhm.
the CEO level,
Mhm.
there are executive coaches that more likely than not are attached to these organizations or people have used theirs, have theirs, and they're going to give you referrals.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of both. Your entire career, you should be getting coached through your mentors, your advocates, and your sponsors. But when truly, if you think you're going to get to the highest levels of your career, then that executive coaching, formalized executive coaching is definitely needed.
Yes, absolutely. So, in regards to you, and we'll kind of go into more specifics in a second, but in regards to you actually creating and formalizing your own executive coaching program, what were some of the things that you wanted to implement or change within that organization or empower within the individuals that you were coaching?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is knowing that it exists because
Mm-hmm.
part of it was I got there, like I said, I was like, oh, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So knowing that it exists, realizing that, everybody's like, I need a mentor, I need a mentor. But I love what Carla Harris says. She's like, you need a mentor, advocate, and a sponsor. And when I started listening to her 15 years ago, when I was on my rise, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I need to put that into this coaching experience as well. So in creating the executive coaches, it was basically taking those levels of mentorship, advocacy, and sponsorship and seeing how do we reflect that back to the people that need it? Where are the gaps? Especially for an African American woman like myself, where did I feel the gaps? Because you'll have a sponsor or an advocate, and then as soon as that person leaves or moves on to the next thing, you feel this gap, and you're like, okay, who's here to help me now?
Mm-hmm.
So helping people not have the gaps in their promotion, their career, professional and personal progression, I think is so important. Also understanding that, different environments have different lingo
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that, there's somebody that I can come to ask these questions I may not understand. I might be at this board table, but I might not understand what they're actually saying. So
Mm-hmm.
creating safe, psychologically safe spaces so people can have that. One of the good things that, came to mind to me when I was sitting as a chief of staff for a almost $1 billion organization was, what, I'm going to have executive office hours because yes, I'm going to walk through my organization. I'm going to talk to people, but I'm not going to have a chance to sit down one on one because when
Mm-hmm.
people start seeing you and recognizing you, they're like, oh, can I have a meeting with you? Can I have a meeting? Well, those 30-minute meetings add up really quickly. You don't have the time to meet with everybody, even though you want to. So what
Mm-hmm.
I did was I started executive office hours, virtual hours. You can come to my office or you can come online and we're going to sit here and we have a 30 minute to a 1 hour conversation. Whoever comes in the room, the expertise is not only me, it's the wisdom in the environment. And we're all going to help each other get to our next level.
Yes, absolutely. So, you are a retired Navy captain and practicing board certified OBGYN. So take me back to the little girl that was 6 years old, writing in your journal about the goals that you envisioned for yourself in the future. Were those two things in the journal? Can you remember?
Absolutely. So so the interesting thing is I think about this all the time.
Mhm,
Like I said, been journaling since I was 6, and really I was writing like these, stories. That's what I
mhm,
was doing.
mhm,
But when I saw a show, somebody just posted this. I think it was Kerry Washington. She said, what did KPBS teach you? KPBS taught me how to do a laparoscopic vaginal hysterectomy.
mhm.
Huh?
Okay.
I was 8, okay? I didn't know I was
What is
called to the pulpit
KBS?
of medicine.
I missed that. What's
K
KBS?
KPBS, PBS.
Oh,
So,
PBS. Oh,
it
okay,
should
got it,
call
got it.
the yeah,
Got it, got it. Okay,
PBS,
got it.
Public Broadcasting Station. So,
Got
yes,
it.
so donate. Um, so, when I was a little girl, I was called to the pulpit of medicine, and so that meant, I didn't have physicians around me. The only physician I saw was the one I went for my, annual pediatric exam,
Mhm.
but something told me I wanted to be a doctor, and then when I was watching KPBS, that laparoscopic hysterectomy, I said, "I wanna be that type of doctor. I wanna be OBGYN."
Mm.
So I was writing that down. I started calling myself doctor very early. And one of my
Ooh.
friends, one of my friends, Gavin Jackson, he is currently the COO of Christ Universal Temple, which
Mhm.
is a church that he and I both grew up in. He will tell you every time he speaks, he says, "She right there, that's what started calling herself," and wrote it down.
Wow.
Then I went to Christ Universal Temple, which was all about envisioning positive thoughts, understanding who you are and whose you are and the fact that you can achieve. So no matter where you come from, and I did come from, people say humble beginnings. Our finances were in love. Let's say that.
Okay.
Uh, our finances were in love, but I tell you, we had a belief system. And so, yes, ever since I was a little girl, I've been writing it down. I said I wanted to own a McDonald's. That was one of the things I wanted to do.
Mhm.
I wanted to at one point I wanted to be a lawyer, a doctor, and a police officer. I figured that might be too many
Man, that might be a little bit
different
too much,
fields,
but
right? Might be a little bit too much, but being a physician was always on the case. And then I also have a article that was written about me when I was a senior in high school. I was went to Mira Mesa High School in San Diego. We're the Marauders, and the article essentially has everything that I said that I wanted to be. And
Mm,
one of those things I said I wanted to be was an OBGYN. I also said that I wanted to own my own hospital.
mm.
Now, I don't own my own hospital, but
Yeah,
if I wanted to, I
yeah,
know that I could make it happen.
yes.
But all of the things that I've desired in life have come to fruition because I know who I am, whose I am. I am surrounded by people that are investing in me and investing in our family. So, yes, writing it down, vision boarding, making it plain, staying consistent, and being intentional about essentially everything I do.
Absolutely. And you said it, based on where you come from, humble beginnings, being able to manifest through love. A lot of that requires a deep seated belief system, even though there's no evidence around you. Is there any time through that path where you questioned whether or not this was the path for you at all?
I never questioned whether or not I was supposed to be a doctor. That never was the question for me. The question was, am I gonna make it?
Okay.
Like, am I gonna make it?
Okay.
And yeah, every time you're stepping into something new, every time you are elevating, every time you are changing, which change happened a lot in my life since I was a little girl.
Hmm.
Whether it was moving between Chicago, LA, San Diego, and then as I became, like you said, a part of the military or going to college, away from my family, and end up meeting cousins while you're in college, right?
Hmm.
My last name, Elmore, is
Yeah.
not a very common last name.
Yeah.
And people are like, I think we're cousins.
And where
And
are you
really
from?
having a
Chicago? You
strong,
said where are you from?
yeah. So I'm
Okay.
originally from Chicago,
Okay.
west side of Chicago, the west
Okay.
side of
Okay.
Chicago. Um, and then Southern California, so LA.
Okay.
And then we moved back to Chicago, moved to San Diego. So I say I'm a shy Cali girl.
Okay.
Now I have
Okay.
technically lived in California more years than I have lived in Chicago, but I am a shy Cali girl from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you had a very clear vision and, usually, on the path to becoming an OBGYN, there's a direct path that's typically already laid out for you. However, no matter how much change you had throughout the process, it was your vision never wavered. It was still clear that exactly what you were wanting to do. And, the only second guessing was whether or not you were actually going to make it, but you knew that that was going to come into fruition no matter what. Um, so what made you decide to go into the military versus just the traditional route?
So just to piggyback on one thing you said,
Mhm,
I hopped on. So one of the things was when I was in high school, people would ask me, "What do you want to be, doctor?
mhm, mhm,
What do you want
mhm,
to do, doctor?"
mhm,
Right? And I think sometimes people are afraid to speak up, or maybe they don't know. But if you
mhm,
don't tell people what you want to do, the right people, then
mhm,
you're not going to have the advocacy that you need to get to where you want to be, especially if you
mhm.
don't have the
Right.
circle,
That's
right?
true.
So one of my friends told me that he had gone to Xavier and came back from Xavier after his first semester. And he was like, "Oh my God, Kelly, you have got to go to this school. If you want to be a doctor, this is where you go." I had
Mm,
no clue about Xavier.
mhm,
I didn't even get a chance to go visit Xavier. That's how much money we didn't have.
mm,
But Xavier found me because I had high junior SAT scores, so PSAT scores.
mhm,
Fast forward, I went to Xavier on a scholarship and ended up getting a full scholarship. End up pledging Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
mhm,
All of these things continue to align with the network that I needed to get to where I'm going to be. My soror, one of my line sisters, informed me that she had just gotten a scholarship through the Navy.
mhm,
One day I was flying back home from school on a Southwest flight where you actually look at each other. This was
mhm,
a business class. I'm in college. I'm clearly in business class because
mhm,
that's where I feel like I need to be.
mhm.
And these gentlemen asked me, they said, "How are you going to pay for med school?" And I said, "Jesus." And they're like, I'm like, "Well, we don't know Jesus, but we think this program is going to help you."
Uh-huh.
And they told me about the health profession scholarship program. And I got back to Xavier and went straight down. I asked somebody for a ride. I went straight down to the Navy recruiting office down there. And I said, "I'm going to medical school and I need a scholarship."
Mhm,
When I passed my MCATs, and got accepted into, the University of Chicago, I went down there and they said, "You can go to any school you want to." And I said, "I'm going to University of Chicago." And from
mhm.
that was history. I was in the military. I raised my right hand, said my oath. I was gonna get out in 4 years after I paid back my time. Loved it, stayed in for 26. And
Wow.
everything I have today is as a result of really being a part of this, organization.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, I'm not it's not surprising that you ended up becoming a captain. Do you tend to max out on your skill set really quickly in certain
Um,
positions?
I think insert yeah, I mean, when I know that this is what I wanna do, then
Yeah.
absolutely, it's about being the best. I mean,
Yeah, you want to be
everything is about being my best,
your
right?
best.
And
Okay.
I don't compete with anybody
Yeah.
because the competition right here is so high that I don't need to compete with anybody. And I don't belittle anybody and I know how to work together as a team. I mean, I played basketball growing up, so everything is about teamwork and
Mhm.
understanding what skill sets do your teammates have so that you guys can win the championship.
Mhm.
Remember I said, what is your win?
Mhm.
And so I'm all about winning championships and doing it together because it's no fun when the homies not there with you.
Yeah, for sure. So you pretty much whatever you do, you want to be the best. If I'm gonna do this, I want to be the captain. Board certified OBGYN. You found delivering babies really fulfilling, but at the end of the day, you wanted to see yourself making a larger impact. So
Absolutely.
once you made that decision, and I'm sure it happened fairly quickly, what caused you to transition, or what transpired that allowed you to transition into more of the executive side?
So what transpired was I saw that people were essentially what I was doing is I would look at in the middle of the night while I was delivering babies,
Mhm.
I would look at leadership bios. They're all posted
Mhm.
online. I would look at leadership bios and I would see what is it that these people are doing to enable, to allow them to promote. Now, in some aspects, because I'm a physician, I'm going to get to a certain level as far as rank. But you
Right.
don't get to the highest levels just by being a physician. You actually have to do something
Right.
significantly impactful.
Right.
So I started looking at their ladders and I started checking the boxes on that. And then I started talking to the people that were 2 levels above me. I would talk to the people above me, but
Mhm.
2 and 3 levels above me, which means I'm talking to admirals and generals and I'm asking them, "How did you get here and what's going on?" But
Mhm.
then those people that were my immediate supervisors or 1 level above me, they were being my advocates and sponsors and giving me the information that I needed. So, in order to get to the next level, you have to have multiple levels above you. You have to be able to see where you want to go. And I know people say if you can't see it, you can't be it. Everybody is not going to look like you, especially in the space that I am in. I
Right.
am the 0.001%
Mhm.
of people that do what I do, and probably another zero added in front of that zero that I just told you.
Mhm.
But so you got to look for opportunities everywhere and from everybody. So you got to have a diverse network that you're looking at.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for that. So a couple of things. So the first thing that I'm picking up is the conviction that you have. And a lot of times, when physicians or other healthcare visionaries are really thinking about their next step, they don't have the clarity or the conviction that you do, that you've had since you were a little girl. Your entire environment reiterated and reaffirmed what it is that you wanted and instilled that belief system in you. And unfortunately, not many people have had that experience, right? So if somebody came to you and they knew that they were maxed out of their role, but they didn't have the conviction or the clarity on what it is they wanted to do next, what would you tell them to really have that belief system that you have now?
So we got to go back to the basics. Who are you and whose are you? Whether
Mhm.
you believe in my God, your God, or somebody else's God, or none at all. Who are you and whose are you? And what motivates you
Mhm.
to be who you are?
Mhm.
And where do you want to go next? We got to get this right, right?
Mhm.
We got to understand, where do you see yourself? And if
Mhm.
you can't see yourself anywhere, then that's where we about to stop.
Right.
Cuz then we need
Yeah,
to
because
do a
I can
mindset
envision,
shift.
with self actualization, when someone is asking someone, "Who are you?" A lot of times, especially when you've been, under the same or confined to the same identity for so long, you may not know who you are anymore, right? Because a lot
Right.
of people come into their profession, you know, thinking or having an idea of like, okay, this is who I am, but we evolve, we change. And then sometimes when there's something wrong and we can't really pinpoint it, sometimes part of that is the identity, right? It's part of shedding
Mhm.
something that no longer serves us or, stepping into something new. But that confusion space, it does really cause cloudiness around who it is you actually are. So if someone comes to you and you're asking them, "Who are you?" and they can't answer it, what journey would you take them down to really kind of rediscover themselves?
Yeah, so one, I always recommend professional therapy.
Okay.
Always. Why? I have 3 therapists, okay?
Okay.
And I've kept therapists the whole time. The reason why is because they're gonna help you figure out, okay, where did I come from?
Mhm.
What are the missing links? What's going on? What are the gaps and everything like that, right? From
Mhm.
a professional standpoint.
Mhm.
Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, when was the last time that you felt joy?
Mm.
When was the last time, or have you felt that yet?
Mhm.
What are you attracted to? What do you
Mhm.
like doing? When
Mhm.
you go to sleep at night, what wakes you up in the morning and makes you feel excited?
Mhm.
Because the more likely than not, that's what the path that you are leading down. Now, some people will say, what's going to make you money? Yes, that's important,
Right.
right? But I also need to know that, especially if I'm hiring you, I need to know that you're not just here just for the money.
Mhm.
Because if something happens, then you're going to be gone or you're going to be
Right.
unhappy. You're making 6 figures, 7 figures, and you're miserable. Who wants that?
Right.
Like, let's find out what makes you have joy, peace, is exciting, is motivating, and can make you wealthy. Let's
Absolutely.
find out.
Yes,
So,
I
we just slow it down. We slow it
mhm.
down. And if there's things that you're holding, baggage that you're holding, I'm very big on forgiving and releasing immediately, letting it go. The reason why is because you clogging up not just, mentally and emotionally space, but you're starting to clog up physically. And you might
Mhm.
be young right now and be like, "Oh, I'm good." But boo, let me tell you, stroke, hypertension, diabetes, that's because all the stress we internalize
Mhm.
because we're not living our healthiest and wealthiest life spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, and emotionally. And we
Mhm.
need to unclog that and let it go.
Absolutely. So, as far as the self-discovery process, well, first I wanna know, why do you have 3 therapists? What do each of them provide you?
That's so funny because my friends ask me that all the time, right? Why you got to for therapy? So, I mean, I'm a black woman, so
Mhm.
everybody can't talk to me the same way. So,
Correct.
I have a therapist that identifies with me on that level. I have a therapist that, I used to play sports a lot, so I'll have a lot of like sports analogies in my head. So, I have a therapist or a counselor that helps me, align physically and mentally with that type of understanding. And then I have just a general therapist and I'm like, okay, I can pick up if everybody, if people aren't available, then I can pick this up. And it
Mhm.
all depends on what's your insurance, what, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, how much money you have and everything like that, who's taking what. So you need to, I'm the type of person that has backup to the backup to the backup. I
Yeah.
am a Virgo.
Mhm.
Born on the
Okay.
4th of July, just like,
Okay.
I mean, excuse me, 4th of September, like
Mhm.
Beyonce. So
Mhm.
there is no like plan that's not already thought about.
Okay.
But I've just collected people over the
Yeah,
years.
okay. No, I love that. I love the being able to leverage, different people, whether they're therapist, coach, or whoever you need to kind of formulate your circle and serve you in the best way that they can. And obviously these like one is competitive, one is, whether or not they accept your insurance, one can identify with you as a black woman. Those things are so important. Do you guys
Mhm.
in your therapy sessions, do you focus a lot on your past, or do you guys focus a lot on the future, present? Do you remember like where the primary
Yeah.
focus lies?
Typically when I'm talking, there's probably something acute that's going on, so
Mhm.
something happening right now. But then also, if there's something happening right now, there's going to be a basis historically in it,
Mhm.
especially if you're getting emotional about it. So it's unpacking those emotions and those experiences, and then moving forward from there. And then, how do we win out of this therapy session or series of therapy
Right.
sessions? So you're going to look in the future as well. If it's something that I'm trying to achieve in the future, then yes, we're going to talk about, okay, what's going on presently, and then how can we be achieve this goal or this outcome in the future. So it's a little
Absolutely.
bit of both.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely recommend working with professionals and experts in tandem that can help you with different spaces in your life, especially when it comes to your career transition. So typically, we recommend therapy to really help resolve, past trauma or any limiting beliefs or blocks that are preventing you from actually making the decision, or like you said, going through the process of self discovery and figuring out exactly who you are. And then also coaching is really good to really focus on developing a plan to really elevate you to move forward. But what I'm finding with my clients and also the conversations that I'm having lately is a lot of times when you're in very high functioning, high performing careers, a lot of people don't have the chance to go down the road of self discovery until they actually max out of their position and have that space and time to do so. So I'm realizing a lot of times where people are leaving their careers or have a break from their careers, that's when they're actually taking time to even spend by themselves to reconnect with self, journal. I just had an interview with someone else who took 30 days to really just journal and figure out how to reconnect with themselves, what it is that does bring them joy and exactly what they are looking for, which she kind of really came to the conclusion that she was looking for freedom. So you have
Mhm.
all of these professional resources out there. You definitely can work with professionals and experts in tandem to tackle different areas in your life. But also, don't forget about taking the time to yourself where there is no external noise or distraction, and really reconnect with self to help you come back to who you are, and then seeking out the professional help that could kind of help you move through the data that you were able to uncover on your own. So that I love that you kind of broke that down. So you said that when you were really kind of analyzing your path, there's only so far that you can go as a physician, right? And so in that regard, you started to look online to see what other leaders were doing in order for you to kind of see if you can align or match their path. And then you also took it a step further and reached out to them for more information and even for them to be able to advocate on your behalf as well. So one thing that I've come across is where some physicians and healthcare visionaries, they don't feel comfortable reaching out to, mentors or superiors to even talk about, what it is they're feeling or what path they're looking for next. So what advice would you have to really kind of open up that conversation? So for whatever reason, it's really, kind of hush hush.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
That's the advice that I give people. To be honest, I remember, one of the times that I was overseas, I was stationed overseas, going back to what you're saying, finding yourself. Anytime I was overseas, I was typically by myself, and my family is what we call geo bachelor. Your family stays at home, and then you go overseas.
Mhm.
And I always took these opportunities, they were always on beautiful islands. I always took the opportunity to really figure out who I am and whose I am right now. Okay.
Mm.
Through the meditation, through the journaling, lots of exercise, and optimizing my nutrition. But one time I was on the island and the most senior leader in our organization was there. And
Mhm.
I always made sure they call them like open calls
Mhm.
or yeah, open calls essentially where any employee in the organization can come listen to the senior leader speak. I
Mhm.
always made sure I was there. I always made sure I had a question. I always made sure I asked the question,
Mhm.
right? First to ask the question.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was a good question. So I remember afterwards, we usually, if you're on a certain leadership level, you're able to go to the event afterwards. And he says to me, call such and such.
Mm.
Now, this is the most senior person in the entire organization.
Mhm.
Call such and such. And they use their first name. And I'm like, who?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, tell such and such. I said to take your phone call.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. I went home, I searched out the email, phone number, got the phone number, and I emailed and said, such and such, senior leader such and such asked me to reach out to you. The
Mhm.
person called me back, got a scheduled appointment, and started, how can I be of assistance to you? What is it that you would like to do?
Mhm.
The person was the number two person in the whole organization.
Mhm.
I'm like down here.
Mhm.
So um all I can say is let go of the fear. One of my favorite verses is be ye anxious for nothing.
Mhm.
Let go of the fear. Know that if you're in the place that you were placed there to make a difference and make an impact, and it is not by happenstance that you got the opportunity to meet whomever it is that you need to meet.
Right.
Jump on it and go ahead. My husband says, jump in, the water is fine, which means have no fear, everything's going to be fine, and do it. And
Mhm.
so that's what I tell people. Get over your nerves and your anxiety because that's not going to get you anywhere.
And what's
But
really the
stuck,
worst that can
nowhere near.
happen? You will be really surprised on how many people are willing to help. I really encourage people to reach out, even if they don't look like you. A lot of people think about it. If they're in a certain rank and you're somewhere else, and you're probably in a position that they've been in before. So they understand your mindset, they understand where you're trying to go. And most people in certain positions, they do want to give back. So just reaching out to them, sending them a message and saying, hey, listen, I noticed we have a similar career track. I definitely aspire to be in a position similar to yours. I would love to chat just to kind of see, what that path could look like. And you'll be so surprised how many people will reply back to you and really want to support.
Absolutely.
So I encourage you, like you said, just do it. Like reach out and do it. And I love your approach of just let me just take the time, during my self-discovery process. Now that I know what it is I'm looking for, let me look at other people's profile and look at what they're doing, maybe their lifestyle or what it is they're talking about, their messaging online. It seems so similar to my own core beliefs, my own values, or the way that I see fit, or the way that I want to live. Maybe let me reach out to them and see if there's something that I can connect, and maybe we can connect, and maybe they can mentor me or refer me to a mentor that can really help me get into that position. So don't be afraid
Mhm.
to ask for help. For whatever reason, in some certain positions or careers, it feels like, everyone is coming to me for help, but God forbid you go out and don't know something, right? Just do it and reach out. So my next question is, when you noticed that you wanted to make a bigger impact, what kind of things did you see in the delivery room, or what kind of things did you see that was kind of broken in the healthcare system that you felt like you could help change at a higher level?
Yeah, I mean, just going to the delivery room, just realizing in my residency program, like things are different for different people. Why
Mm.
is that? hmm. And I can see gaps in almost immediately. I'm a Virgo, right? So
Mhm,
I can see like things that need to be fixed all the time.
mhm,
And not in a judgmental way, just like, okay, how can I improve? So essentially, many of the things were how do we improve birth outcomes for women? How
mhm,
do we get access to breastfeeding opportunity, a place for them to breastfeed? How do we make sure that they get maternity leave? And then finding out, okay, who is in charge of this policy and how do I get on this board to help with this policy? So
mhm,
it starts out as things like that. Now we're hearing about all the morbidity and mortality of Black women in healthcare, right?
mhm,
So yeah, I saw that years ago. 10, 15 years ago. And when we saw it in our hospital that we were working in, we were like, you know what? Let's go ahead and make these toolkits. Let's do what we need to do so this is not happening in our hospital. Let's go ahead and share it with our sister hospital, and then that sister hospital shares it with the sister hospital. And next thing you know, our outcomes are much better. So I
mhm,
started seeing how that worked, how, collaborating across the world. Okay.
mhm,
Because when you get to be stationed around the world doing what I do, then you're able to take best practices around the world. And that's how it all, started out. And so now in what I'm doing as far as consulting, not only do I have that leadership piece, but I also have that healthcare administrative piece
mhm,
and that OBGYN piece. Babe, I mean, you got the triple threat right there. And we just are, you can see where are the gaps? How do we help people understand how we can improve? And how do you help build their confidence as well as their humility so that we can actually work together and get this mission taken care of?
mhm. Absolutely. Before we go into so did you move into to become the COO? What was the executive role that you actually moved into?
So what happened is I became a chair of a department.
Okay,
Then I became a director of healthcare business, which is you get to see all the access to the hospital and what's going on and, what they call the bean counting and all that other stuff.
okay.
And then I became the interim chief of staff interim COO is what they call it corporate
Mm.
for a large hospital on the West Coast, and then became the COO for a large hospital on the East Coast.
Got it. So you basically went up the ranks. You
Oh, yeah.
advocated for yourself, you interviewed for the position, and then did you have to go through like a rigorous interview process, or did you just whenever you were ready, like going back to like tapping out of a position, whenever you were ready for the next level, did you advocate for yourself? Did they come to you for the promotion? Like what did that look like? So just so other people can understand like what it takes to really kind of move up the ranks.
Right. So knowing what you want to do, okay,
Mhm.
seeing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Uh, and then also having mentors around you that are going to give you tidbits and information and advocates, right? Having
Mhm.
sponsors at different levels that see the work that you're doing.
Mhm.
And then from there, yes, you have to interview for every significant position. So when I was chair, I interviewed for being chair. When I was director, I interviewed for being a director. I interviewed for being a chief operating officer twice. And when we're talking about interviews, it's talking about you're interviewing amongst your peers and people that have more experience than you.
Mhm.
So when you come into that interview, once again, you got to know who you are, and what positive impact you can bring to whatever organization that you're in or about to be in.
Mhm.
Understanding the playing field and the landscape, and helping
Absolutely.
people understand how are we going to help you grow, because that's what they want to know. What is our return on investment for investing in you?
Now, I can imagine you probably already had the background experience and the skill set, but sometimes, it's not really the person who has the most experience. It's really the person who can articulate what value they're going to be able to bring into the role that is going to help them accomplish their goals. Is there any instance where you felt like your competition had more experience than you, maybe looked different than you, where you went in there to really, advocate for the patient or bring something different to the role than they were used to having or challenge the status quo that actually landed you the position?
Mhm. I think every time I walk into the room, I'm challenging the status quo, to
Okay.
be honest with you.
Okay.
It's okay, because the other thing is I'm a type of person, like, I have never not met a friend, right? There
Mhm.
are very few people that I can't get along with because I take the time to understand people and understand where they're coming from. And if somebody even feels like it's a hard personality, I'm like, there's a reason behind that. Let's figure out what that reason is so we can figure out how to work together, because the mission is what's most important. The mission
Yes.
is important. But that being said, I did, get my MBA as well. So,
Mhm,
like I said, all my school's been paid for. I got my MBA as well. And these are just stepping stones. People were like, you might want to consider this. You might want to consider this. And
mhm,
in my prayer and meditation, I say, don't bring anyone or anything to me that is not for my highest and best good.
mm,
So when somebody is recommending something to me, I'm listening because I know I've already done the work in the background so that whatever's coming to me is more likely than not going to be a win.
mhm. Now, I hear this a lot of times when, physicians want to start their own business and, they're looking to get into consulting, they wanna go and get their MBA, and it's great, especially to leverage for some type of, executive roles, so sometimes it is required, I guess, but it's not always necessary, right? So, what type of do you think that your MBA helped you land these positions? Like, what would you say to someone that's contemplating whether or not to go back to school and get their master's in business?
I would absolutely say if you're trying to get to the top levels,
Okay.
then you got to check the boxes, right?
Right.
Yes, we have CEOs that are out there, even in the healthcare field or whatever field, corporate field, that don't have MBAs and literally started. Like one of the CEOs here, he started as I think one of the security people in the organization or
Mhm.
something, very boots on the ground, right?
Mhm.
And worked his way up, saw the whole thing. But in that time, he had to get his education, had to get another degree, had to do all of the things. So, yes, I don't believe you absolutely have to have certain degrees, but I
Mhm.
do believe you have to have that skill set that the degree has. So, if you
Mhm.
don't have the degree, then you have to have that learned experience that
Mhm.
demonstrates that, you can get an honorary degree in this because you have so much learned experience.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, you're going to be competing against people that have all the degrees and all the check boxes. So, the point of the matter is how are you a differentiator and what value are you
Correct.
going to bring that's different than the other person?
Absolutely. So if something that you want to do to really scale the ladder, it's something that you definitely want to be able to obtain to better position yourself to actually get in the rooms. And once you're finally there, to make sure that you're articulating the value that you're going to bring at this new level. But essentially, if you're looking to move out and start a business, it's not necessary, in order to venture off on your own. So it definitely goes back to being clear on exactly what it is you want, who you are, and what do you need to leverage to help you get there. There's a
And
g go
just
ahead.
real quick, just having the coaches, the mentors, and the advocates, right? So
Yes.
even if you choose not to get that MPA, well, you need somebody that has done it before.
Mhm.
So don't going out there blindly and not listening to subject matter expertise. That's probably you're gonna have more stumbles and falls than you would if you had somebody that will actually help you along the way.
Yes, absolutely. Now, another common trend is not trend, another common transition that physicians are looking to get into is coaching and consulting. So, are you providing consulting on the B2B organizational level, or do you do B2C as well?
I do both.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, actually, so what I do, like I said, we have leadership, we have healthcare management and change,
Hmm.
and then I also have my signature program that's for business to consumer, which is Viva Life.
Hmm.
So the leadership piece, that's where the executive coaching comes in, right? Because
Hmm.
I've been there, I've done that, I'm still learning, but I also have colleagues that I know that are coming behind me that want to get to that level. Okay, how
Yes.
can we get you there? Business to business, as I said, we need to decrease this morbidity and mortality rate amongst women in obstetrics, plain and simple, and GYN, right?
Hmm.
So I can, that's one of the service that we offer as far as healthcare management. Also improving access to care, also improving quality. And then as far as Viva Life, which is our signature program, basically, in order for people to be able to achieve all these things, the five things that I've done my entire life pretty much are the five things that I think most people need to do:
Hmm.
meditate, journal, exercise, optimize their hormones and nutrition, and
Hmm.
get their sleep. You
Mm.
do these five things more than 90% of the time, then you'll be able to be healthy and wealthy enough so that you can do all the other things that you want to do personally and professionally.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So, I was in a consultation with the cardiologist, and he had some specialty that allowed he had like a radiologist like dual specialty where most cardiologists didn't have. whatever. So not
Is it
whatever, but meaning like,
interventional?
huh?
Yeah. He's an interventional cardiologist.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. So in that let me say that over because I was like, "Whatever." But I was, like, trying to explain. Okay. So I was in a consultation with the cardiologist, and he had a dual specialty where he also specialized in radiology as well, which is rare in the hospital system. So he had a specialty that he was able to provide training to other cardiologists at different hospital systems and things of that nature, and they were asking him to do that, but he wasn't being compensated to do this, right? So, in that regard, because you come from the executive level in the hospital system, what would you recommend for a physician who does have that specialty where they're being asked to train other physicians on this specific thing, but they're not necessarily being compensated for it, or, they want to establish a consulting arm of their career so that they can provide this service on the side?
Yes. So have a conversation with your hospital leadership as well as their lawyers and your lawyers,
Hmm.
and negotiate your contract to include this type of thing. Because if you are being what we call a force multiplier, which means like you're helping educate all of these people do these things, then yes, you should be getting constant. You should be getting compensated. Sorry.
Compensated.
I'm post call too. I
Yeah.
just delivered babies last night.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay. No worries.
um, you should be getting compensated, reasonably, understanding that this is a healthcare system. So we
Yeah.
all have budgets, but you should be getting compensated. The other thing I would say, I would talk to them about what we call, moonlighting or off duty employment. If you work for a system and you provide a service, then, you want to open your own business. As long as you're not directly competing with the hospital, then go ahead, have a conversation with them, open that business and do what you're doing on the side, or, make sure that you have time in your contract so you're not burning yourself out trying to do all
Mhm.
the things, and go ahead and teach, because a great teacher is invaluable.
Mhm, mhm, absolutely, and I believe he was talking he was discussing how this is something that he could leverage remotely as well, and I think it's just, the fear around, not only launching the consulting service, but also having the conversation. It's like a lot of times we feel like we have to create an entity on the side and like like our employer cannot know about it, like this is something that we have to do on our own, but you actually can work in tandem with them, and they're used to people approaching them to really kind of renegotiate and really offer something that could be not only beneficial for you, but also beneficial to the hospital system as well. What you don't want to do is overextend yourself and be offering a service that is clearly something that needs to be paid for free, and then, versus actually just going and having the conversation and letting your fear take over. So, like Dr. Kelly said, go talk to your hospital leadership team. Like, I know they're not going to be as approachable, possibly, and nice as her, but if a physician came to you and you were in that position and was like, listen, I want to renegotiate my contract. You guys are asking me to do this training, or I have this training that could definitely be valuable, because it doesn't mean to make an impact. It's not always like I need to just work up the corporate ladder. You can make an impact in other ways. So you can get creative. So if a physician came to you with an idea, like how open would you be?
Oh, I'm the yes person. I'm the innovator. I'm like, okay, how do we get to yes, right?
Mhm.
Because this has happened. It's happened to me where I was working in one area, had my full blown, consulting going, and I was scared. I was scared to go talk to people. You know why? Because I didn't want to hear no. That's why I didn't want to talk to people. But understanding who I am and whose I
Mhm.
am,
Mhm.
and that I'm going to create a brand. I'm coming up in this social media stage, and how do you get more business? Through social media.
Yes.
And I knew somebody was gonna find it. So I was like, I want to have all my ducks in a row. I want to have my paperwork right. I want to do this right. Right. And then I want to demonstrate to them the value that I'm adding. So that being said, making sure that you have this conversation, don't be afraid about having the conversation,
Mhm.
because they can also give you information about how you can make it better. So if
Mhm.
somebody came to me and said, you know what, Dr. Elmore, I want to do this. At times, we're going to be able to say, yes, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm still going to need this from you because this is what our contract says.
Right.
If somebody's saying, you know what, I'm doing this, this, and this, and they can demonstrate it, depending on what your contract says, then that means that I would be able to compensate you for that because you are demonstrating return on investment. I'm getting more patients. I'm getting better access to patients. The patients are getting better care. care. There's decreased complications with the patients because of what you're teaching all the people.
Mhm.
I need to see that value, that
Yeah.
that value benefit for
Yes.
them, right?
Yeah.
So I can say yes on this side. And then on the other side, what if you are in a contract that is like, no, you can't do anything else, da, 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 but can I promote you? Can I give you opportunities for your promotion that are
Mhm.
going to be a little bit different than somebody else that's not doing that? You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Can we go the academic route where you become an associate professor or a full professor, which is
Mhm.
going to give you more opportunity and value in the long run anyway? Can I send you to go get your MBA so that
Mhm.
you can learn and then bring it back? You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
there's always ways to figure out how do we navigate these spaces so that it's beneficial for both you and the organization. And you know what? Typically, people stay in your organizations because you're looking out for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it could be a collaboration, it could be a partnership. Now, Dr. Kelly, not all leaders are as open as you. So what if the leader was like, no, this is not going to work? And actually, if you are doing this, like you're actually violating your contract, what would you do? If you
Yeah.
were the
So
physician,
first
what
of all,
would you do?
first of all, Kelly Elmore doesn't violate her money. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, I was told no, and I was upset and I was sad. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
But what I'm going to do is, if you allow me to volunteer my time, I'm going to continue doing what I know is a positive impact through volunteerism, or I'm about to blow your mind out of the water of what I can do in your organization that you're not going to have a chance to say anything but yes the next time that I ask.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's going to hurt your heart. I've had it happen to me.
Mhm.
Um, but it gave me the time to be more introspective,
Mhm.
to refigure out, you know what, how could I negotiate this better? And how can I become better at what I'm doing right now with the time that I now have back in my life so
Mhm.
that when I do have the opportunity to do it again, that I'm gonna, blow it out the water. So that's how I took it. The other option is decide whether or not that contract is that important to you and it's time for a change.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So, there's always a way. You can always work it out. So, don't be afraid to open up the dialogue and have those conversations. And then, of course, if you do need support through that process, then you have the support, on the call here. So, we can definitely help you get to that next level. All right. So, lovely. So, now that you you saw the impact that you want to make, you moved up the ranks, and then you started also transitioning into consulting. Is that what you're doing now? What are you doing full time now? And kind of take us through where your present is.
Yeah, so I've retired from the United States Navy after 26 years of
Woo! Thank you
service.
for your
Yes, yes, yes.
service.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Cooper.
your
Thank
services.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
So what I'm doing now is I'm scaling. So I've had KOE Medical Consulting Incorporated since 2010 when I was still in the military. And I utilized it because I was what we call moonlighting. I was working for another hospital and delivering babies and getting cases that I just didn't see in the organization I was working with. I did it with approval every single time
Mhm.
because we had to get renewals of approval every couple of years. And so I'm still doing that. So that's why I still deliver babies. That comes under the KOE Medical Consulting. But then I've also added the leadership arm, the change management piece, as well as the Viva Life. So all the things that I was doing while I was in the Navy, mentoring, advocating, sponsoring, helping people, live healthy, be healthy, look healthy, act healthy. I'm doing all of those things, but now I'm doing it under my own business and
Mhm.
working with a very small team to help me expand.
Yes, I love that. What do you enjoy about running your own business versus working in the C-suite?
I do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, how I want, and where I want. I call that the 5 W's.
Yes. I love that.
So
Congratulations. Yes.
absolutely. And I will say that I would say I'm working less hours, and just in a different way, right?
Mhm.
Everything I do, I'm choosing to do. Every
Mhm.
company I work with, I'm choosing to do that. I'm taking the experiences that I have. I know how to get up, I know how to go to work, and I know how to produce and execute. But I'm really doing it truly, truly based on what is going to make the most powerful impact in alignment with my personal goals, mission, vision, and values.
Absolutely. I don't really ask this a lot because I just like, whatever, assume, but you're very intentional. So, what encouraged you to say yes when I reached out and asked you to be a guest on the podcast?
'Cause I know that, once again, nobody comes into my sphere of influence without having a positive outcome at the end. So
Mm,
whatever I'm doing, I already know it's going to be great. And if I can help somebody, in their space, I know it's gonna help me. So
mhm.
it's all about giving back, and it's all about networking. It's all about being a part of that team. I told you I'm a ball player. So we
Yes.
win championships, but I can't do that alone. So that's why I said yes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me. So, yes, I mean, it's very enlightening to hear your story. I mean, obviously, you had convictions from a very little girl. Your entire environment really reaffirmed what it is you already know. You know who you are, whose you are, and you've, manifest and followed the vision that you set out for yourself, and you really don't settle for less. And I know that. I know many Virgos. I'm a Capricorn, so we're a lot of synergy, but I know many Virgos, and you guys are perfectionists and high achievers, and you're pretty much going to get it done. But I know Virgos. So I know those three therapists, there's a lot of work that is done. And that kind of ties in back to, what it really takes is not only are you setting out to do and accomplish what it is you want to do, but you are doing the work required in order to really get there. So it's not to say that you have everything perfect and like everything goes great and I achieve everything I want without any mishaps. You're doing what the actual more challenging part, which is doing the internal work to actually accomplish those goals that you set out for yourself. So not only written on the paper, you're putting in the work that goes on behind the scenes that people don't
Mhm.
see, right? Beyond the perfectionism, right? Beyond the titles, beyond being a captain, beyond being in the C-suite. You're doing the work to make sure that you are, in the position that you set out for yourself. And so I want to congratulate you for really diving in and reconnecting with yourself and doing what it takes to actually be the best that you can. Because I know that that's not easy. And that's the part that we overlook is we want the accomplishments that Dr. Kelly has. We want to be in the positions that Dr. Kelly is in. But it's not only about what's on your resume or what you're saying in the interview, it's about the work that you're doing behind the scenes, and she has dedicated her life to doing that and helping other people do it as well. So I see you. And it's not often that I interview brilliant human beings. I love everyone, but it's not often that I interview somewhere I was like, maybe she needs to be my mentor. I don't say that often. So
I welcome that. I
I
welcome that.
definitely see that you are someone that can definitely help an organization or individual really get to where they want to be, stay structured and focused, but also do the internal work to actually get there. So I just want to give you your flowers. I definitely see that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let everybody know where they can find you so that they can connect.
Yes, absolutely. So drkellyomd.com, drkellyomd.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Kelly Elmore, Thoughts Are My Own, as well as on social media at Viva Life Health Hub. So VIVALIFE Health Hub, all one word. So yeah, just Google me. You'll
Yeah.
find me in all of my stuff.
That is awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Kelly, for joining us this week. My name is Bianca Ariel, founder of Recalibrated Vision, where we are inspiring others to leverage their expertise and transition from career to calling. If you are looking for someone to really help, not only reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your health, and really position you for top ranked leadership positions, or if you're in an organization that is looking for a consultant to come in, refine your staff or refine your policies and really make an impact at a different level, please make sure that you reach out to Dr. Kelly. Thank you guys so much for listening in this week. Remember to always and forever stay free. See you next time. Bye-bye.